Oh, I got my Verge of Pride on today with my little State Street shirt. We're gonna let Charlotte get situated. Oh, she does this every time when we first start to read, right? Kind of hopping around. Sorry, I got something on my lip. Hopping around, crawling around. If she goes too far, we'll have to bring her back up because if she gets on the floor, that could be quite the disaster. Did she stop? Charlotte! Stop! Come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, you can go.
Mom, please just go.
I am, kid. Chapter 4, Richie Richest. I admit I was worried about my first day of 7th grade. I wondered if I'd be considered the new kid because I wasn't there last year or to start middle school with everyone else. But how can you be the new kid when you've only missed 1 year? I'd be more like the new old kid, wouldn't I? I mean, I wouldn't know everyone at middle school, but I'd know all the kids who'd been there with me in 5th grade, and I'd still have the same best friend. Fudge didn't seem worried about starting at a new school at all. He and Melissa skipped all the way there. I wish Jimmy still lived in our building so that we could walk to school together. Instead, I walked with Sheila Tubman. Not that I wanted to, but what choice did I have? We went down in the elevator together. It would have been rude to cross the street just to avoid her, right? I'm still hoping that we won't be in the same homeroom or any of the same classes. The bad news is Sheila's in my homeroom. She's in my science class and Spanish too. But I'm trying to keep a positive attitude, like Mom said. The good news is Jimmy's in my homeroom and better yet in my humanities section. We even had the same lunch period and nobody at school acted like I was a new kid. Most kids either didn't remember that I lived someplace else or they didn't even care. After school, Jimmy came over, same as always. I told him about Melissa and her mother and how Henry painted the apartment and fixed up the kitchen. They got a new refrigerator, I said, expecting Jimmy to laugh and make some joke about salami and onion sandwiches, but he didn't. We hung out at the park for a while at the top of our special rock. Then just like that, Jimmy said that he had to go home. I forgot for a moment that he had moved and that he lived downtown now, that he had to take the subway home all by himself. I walked him to Central Park West and 72nd Street. Jimmy and I have been best friends since 3rd grade. He lived around the corner then. It was the first place in the city I was allowed to walk by myself. I really liked Jimmy's mom. She told me to call her Anita, not Mrs. Fargo, and we had this special game. Every time I left her house, she gave me a graham cracker in case I got hungry on the way home. That was such a big joke since it only took 2 minutes to get to my building. I was so mad at her, though, when she took off for Vermont, leaving Jimmy and his dad. But then I was happy when Jimmy and his dad moved into our building. But then I was mad at her again because, well, Jimmy was. Jimmy doesn't like to talk about the divorce or his mother. He keeps everything to himself. He visits her at Christmas and for a month in the summer. I hope I never see her again because if I do, I'll tell her exactly what I think about what she did to Jimmy. And don't tell me that there are 2 sides to every story like Mom does because I've seen Jimmy's side up close. Not that I want him to move to Vermont. That would be a lot worse than Soho. I'd never get to see him then. Now I know how he felt when I left the city last year. I watched as Jimmy disappeared down the stairs into the subway station. I wonder when Mom and Dad will let me take the subway to Soho on my own. That night at dinner, Fudge went on and on and on about his first day of school. I have 2 teachers in my room, William and Polly, and a library helper. That makes 3. You need 3 teachers, I said, maybe more, because I'm smart, right? Oh, yeah, they don't come any smarter than you. How many teachers do you have, Pete? A different one every hour. Wow, you're really smart. Dad said, when you're in 7th grade, you'll have as many teachers as Peter. My library helper comes 2 times every week, Fudge said. He's 17. Next year, he's going into college. Know what his name is? Jonathan Girdle. I laughed and said, you probably got that wrong, turkey brain. Peter, Mom said, what did we discuss last night? I don't know. Self-esteem, Mom said. Don't you remember? What's that got to do with? I stopped before I finished. Was she talking about me calling Fudge turkey brain? Mom nodded, like she could read my mind. But Fudge didn't pay any attention. He went on as if he were the only one at the table. Jonathan told us that some people think his name is funny. So I told him some people think my name is funny. And then this girl named Rebecca Noodle said a lot of people think her name is funny. Then Pluto Stevenson said everybody thinks his name is funny. Pluto, I said? Yes, Pluto. But he's not my new best friend. My new best friend is... Wait a minute, I said, interrupting him. One day of school, and you have a new best friend? Yeah, Pete, I do. I have to hand it to Fudge. He always manages to find a friend. He never worries like I do when I go someplace new that maybe no one will like me. Guess what my new best friend's name is? Fudge asked later that night. I was at my desk. I just finished my math homework and was about to start on Spanish. We're having a vocabulary quiz on Friday. I'm doing my homework, I told him. You're not supposed to bother me while I'm studying. And you're supposed to knock if my door is closed. Fudge and I each have half of a bedroom. There's a wall divider with shelves between us, but we have our own doors to the hallway. I brought you a rice cake, Fudge said in his best little boy in the whole world voice as he held it up to me. He's the one who loves rice cakes, not me. They make me gag. They're like eating cardboard. I don't want a rice cake, I told him. You know how I feel about rice cakes. Anyway, aren't you supposed to be in bed? I can't go to bed until you guess, he said, nibbling at the rice cake himself. Okay, what am I supposed to guess this time? Pay attention, Pete! He said you're supposed to guess the name of my new best friend. If you want me to guess, you have to give me a clue, I told him. Okay. His first name is what I want to be when I grow up. King, I guessed. Wrong. President? Very funny, Pete. Try again. Let's see. I pretended to think about it. Oh, I've got it. Miser. No. And he shoved half the rice cake into his mouth at once. It's Rich. He waited for my reaction. When I didn't say anything, he repeated it. His name is Rich. Get it, Pete? It's what I want to be when I grow up. When I still didn't say anything, he added, we call him Richie, and his last name's even better. Here's a clue. He's related to someone very famous, someone we know, and he stuffed the rest of the rice cake into his mouth and brushed off his hands. The crumbs landed on my living Spanish textbook. I don't know anyone really famous. Yes, you do. I give up. Fudge whispered in my ear. He's you-know-who's cousin. We've been through this before, I told him, wiping off my ear. Harry Potter isn't real. He's a... But before I could finish, Fudge spit on the back of his hand 3 times. You said his name out loud. You have to spit 3 times or something terrible will happen. Hurry! And he spit on the back of his other hand. I don't know why Fudge thinks you're supposed to say that you're not supposed to say the name Harry Potter out loud, but for some reason he does. It's some kind of magic he's invented. I knew he was too young to listen to the books on tape, but Mom and Dad played it anyway, driving back from summer vacation. To tell the truth, it's easier just to spit on your hands than to argue with them, so I did. 3 times on the back of my hand. Whew. Fudge said that was a close one. I hate to break it to you, I told him, but Potter's a common name. I know at least 2 other kids at school whose last name is Potter. It doesn't mean anything. You are so wrong, Pete. Uncle Feather agreed with Fudge. You were so wrong, Pete. So wrong, wrong, wrong. Cover Bird Brain's cage, will you? I said, I can't concentrate on my homework with him yakking. Yak, 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 Uncle Feather said. I reached for my headset and turned up the volume. Sometimes I wonder how I ever survived without it. Richie Potter was at our apartment when I got home from school the next day. He's 2 heads taller than Fudge and so thin you can count his ribs through his shirt. He has a brush cut and big eyes that blink a lot. Like maybe he needs glasses? I could see why Fudge got the idea that he was you-know-who's cousin. He started wheezing right away. Allergies, he explained, digging in his inhaler out of his backpack and puffing twice. You must have dust mites. I don't know, Fudge said, but Pete has a dog. Dogs are okay, as long as they don't lick me, Richie said. If they lick me, I get hives. What about brothers, Fudge said. Brothers are okay, unless they lick their dogs. And he and Fudge started laughing. Does your brother lick your dog? Maybe, Fudge said. Hey, Pete, do you? No, I said. Fudge and Richie laughed themselves silly. Want to see my bird? Fudge asked. He can talk. Richie followed Fudge, and I followed Richie. I like to be around when Fudge introduces his bird to a new friend. Presenting, Fudge said with a flourish, the one, the only Uncle Feather. I have an Uncle Jocko. Richie said. Is your Uncle Jocko a bird? Fudge asked. No, Richie said. He's my mother's brother. Uncle Feather's not related to my mother or my father, Fudge said. He's just related to me. He's all mine. So, what does he say? Richie asked. Whatever you want him to say. Richie thought about it, and then he said, Zoopity-doop-dop-zoop. Uncle Feather stood there, his head cocked to one side. Try something else, Fudge said. He likes real words, especially bad words. So Richie said all the bad words he knew, but Uncle Feather wasn't impressed. You try, Richie told Fudge. What's up? Fudge asked Uncle Feather, and usually Uncle Feather answers, What's up? What's up? What's up? But this time, nothing. What's wrong? I asked Uncle Feather. Cat got your tongue? I couldn't say that in front of Tootsie or she'd start meowing, but Tootsie was taking her afternoon nap. Don't tease him, Pete! I'm not teasing him. I'm trying to get him to talk. He's not in the mood, Fudge said. Come on, Richie. Let's get a snack. I followed them to the kitchen. Mom was still in her whites from work, meaning her scrubs from when she worked. Are you a doctor? Richie asked. No, Mom said. I'm a dental hygienist. One of my grandpas is a very famous neurosurgeon, Richie said. He fixes brains. We know this girl who fell off her bike, Fudge said, and her brains came out her ears. My grandpa could have put them back in, Richie said. Too bad. She didn't know your grandpa, Fudge said. What's he talking about? I asked Mom. Mom shrugged and rolled her eyes as if she was wondering the same thing. And then she said, Would you boys like a snack? Yes, please, Richie answered. I'll have broccoli. Broccoli? Mom repeated. Yes, please, Richie said. And I'd like it lightly steamed florets. Florets are just the top flowery part of the broccoli, not the stem part. Mom seemed really surprised. I don't think we have any broccoli in the house, but we do have carrots. Carrots are good, Richie said, dipped in either hummus or tahini. Now Mom was really surprised. We don't have hummus or tahini, but we have peanut butter, and that tastes a lot like tahini. Have you ever had hummus? It's chickpeas. Sometimes we dip chips in it, or celery, or carrots. Maybe you've had it. Don't you have a cook? Richie asked. No, I'm afraid we don't, Mom said. Oh, I'm sorry, Richie said.